joyful journey. And I am very privileged to be here. I will be facilitating this session, so feel free. In case of any questions, you can ask me, and I can direct you to the right place. So without further ado, let me just welcome you to this workshop. Today our workshop is basically, we're going to be talking about how to apply gender lens to science, technology, and innovation fields. And I believe most of you would agree with me that despite the significant advances in science, technology, and innovation, there's still a significant gender gap in these fields. We have women who are, and some other groups that are underrepresented, and they continue to be excluded from decision making, business opportunities, and things like that. So today, basically, we're just going to talk about what does it mean to apply gender lens in these fields of expertise. And so I am going to invite Dr. Hulda, who's right here at the front. She is the Principal Research Coordination Officer for COSTECH. She's going to be opening this workshop on behalf of Dr. Amos, who is the Director General. So let's give a hand of applause to Dr. Hulda as she comes up on front. Thank you.
As you heard, I'm open on behalf of the Director General. So the talk is not my talk. It is the Director General speech. So bear with me to hear the speech from the Director General of the Commission for Science and Technology, Dr. Amos Nungu. Do you hear me?
The mic is for YouTube. Now it is for YouTube because you're streaming online. You can just use it. No, don't switch it off because we're using it for streaming live.
So good afternoon again. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know the effort which the government has been doing to promote women in science, technology, and innovation. For some of you, you may have heard last week, we had a ceremony in Dodoma for women scientists, educationalists who are based in science and mathematics. But also, we also had girls who were there. And the aim of the ceremony was to promote women and to create awareness on women to participate in science, technology, innovation, and also engineering and mathematics. The speech which you heard from the guest of honor, which was the Deputy Minister for Education, Science and Technology, really showed that the government has commitment for women to participate in STI. They have done quite a good job. We have several examples. The minister gave us some data on the government investment in girls. They already built about 230 schools for girls to participate in education, especially in science. But also there is another initiative. We call it Samia Scholarship for women to study STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So all these are the effort of the government to make sure that women participate in STI. When we come back to COSTECH, we have done several initiatives. African is one of the examples. But also we have supported female to start up their innovation companies, and also we have some other programs which are in initial stages. And also COSTECH, we have decided now to have a special window for women in research grants. Formerly, the procedure which we had is to compete women and men in one basket, but now we want to have a special window for women so that they can compete themselves for research grants. So far there is quite a lot of effort which has been made by the government, and also some initiatives are direct from the Commission for Science and Technology. But again, the thing is, we have done this. Is it enough? I heard from our colleague here that what has been done is still not enough. We need to do more. When you look at the gaps in every level, you will see the participation of women in not only in science, but overall participation in every area of economy, of education. You see that women are not well participating. For example, when you look at STI, you will see the different levels is not half-half, women, men. So we really need to bridge the gap. But how can we bridge the gap? We need discussion. We need to come up with strategies. We need to receive comments and inputs from every stakeholder. How will you get this information? Is all of us to create awareness for the country, not only inside the country, but also all over the world, so that the funders knows that we need to bridge the gap. Policymakers knows that we need to bridge the gap. But also for students themselves knows that they have to participate. Because when you look at the higher levels of STI management, it's not possible to have participation at higher levels if you don't invest at lower levels. So we need to invest in STI from the kindergarten up to the level of the professors. So it is the role of not one person, but all of us. Especially when we discuss around, think about parents. Last week when we had that occasion, we got an opportunity to see a drama where a lady, a girl, was not allowed to go for science and becoming a pilot just because there is an attitude that you are a woman. And being a pilot, you must be a man. But that girl, she already started primary school, secondary school. She was in the level of going to university. So you can imagine how many of them are in the street. So let me stop here and leave you to discuss about this and come up with the best way to advise the society, but also to advise policymakers and decision makers. From those few words, I have to declare that the session is open. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hulda, for that insightful opening. I believe by now you already know she set the tone as to what we're going to be discussing today and what we're going to be talking about. So it's my hope that we'll have our minds open and we'll be willing to share, ask questions, as we're going to have our next speaker, Dr. Flora from the University of Dar es Salaam. And she's going to share her experience from her area of expertise. And I ask that we all have open ears and open minds, and we'll get a moment to ask questions and share our experiences as well. Karibu sana, Dr. Flora.
Doing the live YouTube. Okay.
What? They can't. Okay, so I'm told this is cosmetic. It's not supposed to be for your ears, it's for the people online. So I'll try and just put a little bit more volume into my voice. You started? You just start. And then it moves. Okay, you can just play it. Okay. So if I want to go next, it's just there. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so this afternoon I've been asked to talk about unlocking gender in science, technology, and innovation. You heard my names, Flora Ismati Bazarwa. I am an alumni, or I had worked at COSTECH for a couple of years, so I know Dr. Hulda and a few other people. And then I moved back to the university, which is where I came from, but in between, I did some work in innovation. So I'm not going to speak about my specific area of expertise today. I'll just try and address the topic that I was given, okay? And really what we're talking about this afternoon is where science, technology, and innovation play with regards gender, because that's the mandate of what COSTECH does. So, anyone familiar with this picture? It's economic complexity. When we talk about science, technology, innovation, it's innovation, science, tech for development. Our primary purpose is that. What do we want as a society? Where do we want to take Tanzania? And how do we want Tanzania to be placed in an economic world? So this is coming from an atlas that the economics school at Harvard does. And what they do is to monitor what countries produce, what they export, vis-a-vis what they import, and come up with this complexity. So what you see as big squares, the bigger the square, the less value addition. The smaller the square, the more value addition. Okay? And the percentages represent how much of that contributes to our general economic balance. Okay, so at the very top, you see the figures there, 7.7. This is the amount of money that Tanzania makes when it exports its main products, which are in the service sector, the red on this side. This is the service sector, travel, tourism, transport. Gold is our biggest export, and it contributes at least 35% of the 7.7 billion that we get when we export. And then the yellow over there is the agriculture. And you can see our agriculture is still less complex. If you look at other countries, you'll see a lot more small squares. And that means they have added value and they're selling their products have more value than ours. Our biggest one is cashew nuts and coconut and legumes. I know you know Tanzania is the largest producer of beans on the continent. So we really are scaling there, but we don't add value to it. So we don't make as much as other countries that export pulses. Our precious metals and ores, and you see we could have a lot more of these colors. This is transport or vehicles. This is automation. That's ICT. And you see, we don't have those colors because we don't produce as much in that area. When you look at the figure up there, which is 7.7, that's what we export and that's what we get. Okay? However, because we import a lot more value add, then we have always a negative balance. So we're constantly in debt, and we want to change that phenomenon. That's not a friendly phenomenon, to always be in debt as much as you're working hard. So I want us to go through the next couple of slides, which are very few, thinking about what does one, science, technology, and innovation have to do with it to change that trajectory, and secondly, what is the role of gender? And gender being women and other minority groups, the disabled, those that are not necessarily the able, hearty men, okay? So there has been a lot of work that has been done. And you heard what the government has done, and it's very commendable, and it hasn't started recently. As I speak through my slides, I will share some of the experiences that we have gone through. One of the things that science, technology, and innovation can do is really look at how do we utilize technology? How do we introduce technology into society? How do we translate it? How do we transform it? How do we adapt to it? And one of the things that COSTECH has done before is do a technology needs assessment, understand what is needed, and then develop technologies to resolve that problem. And Boonie is one of the platforms that helps us do this, okay? Boonie, DTBI upstairs, but also at a very technical academic level. There's a department now, I'm not sure how they've transformed the structure of COSTECH, but I know I worked with Dr. Kafuko, and we did this in energy, where we had support from a UNEP-funded program to look at what the technology needs with specifically just renewable energy, looking at solar batteries. So where in the value chain of solar batteries, from the time we import them, utilize them, and then dispose them, where there are business opportunities, where is it going to be environmentally friendly, what are the social attitudes, and what are the behavioral changes that are needed. And at all those stages, there is a role for gender. So if you're doing a technology needs assessment, where does gender lie? Look at the background of the study. What are the metrics? What are the inputs for your assessment, and how does gender play a role? And that's very important. When you have criteria that help you discern where women will play a role. So for example, in this energy study that we did not use, and I'll admit that, we did not have a gender lens at the time. This was about maybe 7 years ago, 6 years ago. And we didn't use a gender lens. But there were, when I look back now, there were opportunities where we could have asked women in rural areas where these technologies are being used, what are you going to do when your kids play around these places? Okay, especially where where solar batteries are being disposed of. How do you culturally adapt people, women who look after kids, to make sure that they keep their kids safe, as opposed to just looking at how the technology will be disposed of in the environment in a friendly manner? So gender bias criteria in technology assessments is very important, and we see agencies like UNCTAD, UNESCO, FAO starting to use this in their analysis or in their assessments of how do they support development. Okay, so as long as that is changing, we need to also incorporate it in our own assessments as governments, as agencies, as COSTECH. When we make decisions, how do we look at, how do we involve women? Okay? And there are opportunities. Women are part of these co-creation. We have focus group discussions with women when we're talking about how do they adapt, how do they utilize technology. But is it enough? Do we take them through just when we are designing, or do we also inform them that now we've decided on this, and are you okay with it? Okay, so there's still, I'm not saying it's not done, but there's still work that can be improved, okay? There's work for improvement. So there's got to be a very clear listing of where we're going to be gender responsive. Because I was listening to a clip before I came to the session this afternoon, and there was a lady who works grassroots talking about how she works with communities, and they're trying to change the trajectory of people coming in and saying, this is what you need. Sometimes it's not necessarily even development partners, it's even us as government. We sit in the city and we feel like, oh, that road doesn't work, let's put in a road, not understanding the cultural values and norms and the needs that the people have. And then we can come back and complain later and say, they didn't actually look after it, they didn't maintain it, they didn't value it. But did we take them into account when we were making the final decision of this is what's going to happen? And are you okay with it? Because it comes with consequences. Are you ready to take on the responsibility for maintaining whatever technology has been put in? And I think that's very critical that we need to do. So, of course, we do a lot of research, we write a lot of publications, and we come up with great new technologies. And I know those of you who sit in this space, you do a lot to come up with different kinds, different innovations. We're talking now fourth industrial revolution, we're talking about artificial intelligence. I think a lot of us are excited about having Elon Musk's innovations being passed in Tanzania. So, but have we ever, probably need to sit back and think, how does this affect what we're talking about today? It's technology, it will affect society, but it can either reduce the disparity that we talk about in gender, or it can facilitate a larger digital divide or technology divide for that matter. How are we going to, what are we doing? Technology introduction comes with a lot of ethical challenges. Do we want people to know what we're doing? A choice of data, so the whole big data discussion and that conversation needs to be had. What are the legal consequences? Our regulatory system set up to make sure that our society, women and minority groups, are being taken care of, considering that a few of us here are privileged because we have access to information, we have access to phones, we have access to the internet, but in the rural areas, people probably are not as aware, but these are technologies that can literally transform the way they live and how they get their livelihoods. And are we thinking about that? Are we engendering these technologies to take care of that? And I think there are opportunities, and I'd like to be positive on this, that technology is a great thing to have, and how we use it responsibly will really get us forward. But we need to do that, and we need to do that in an appropriate manner. So coming up with innovations that answer all these great new opportunities, I think is very important. Another area of, and it was spoken to by Dr. Hulda, was leadership. Okay? It is changing, let's acknowledge that. She spoke about the 230 schools that government has built that are addressing women. I come from the University of Dar es Salaam. Probably 10, 15 years ago, the university was very proactive, and they started what they called a pre-entry program for women in STEM studies. Okay, so if you were doing engineering, if you were doing general science, you had an opportunity to get a scholarship. At the time, government wasn't doing any scholarships or loans. And then you also had an opportunity, if you were slightly below the entry mark that the university had set at the time, you would be given a 6-week program. And if you passed that 6-week program, you would enter the mainstream university. I think the program ran for about 5 to 6 years. And what they found out of that was that women actually excelled. My current head of department is one of the pioneers of that program. And now she's heading a whole department at the University of Dar es Salaam. Under normal circumstances, without that government initiative, she would not even have access to university education. So I want to commend my country for even taking that first step. In parallel, what they did was the Department of Mathematics within the College of Natural and Applied Sciences. They volunteered to go around schools teaching mathematics, not teaching mathematics as it is just as a subject, but inspiring kids what you can do with mathematics, and especially females. So they try to stimulate the culture of why mathematics is so good. When you come to the university today, University of Dar es Salaam, and I won't speak for statistics of the others, we're almost on balance. We're almost at 50-50 with male, female, especially in the sciences. And the performance We don't have the pre-entry program anymore because we don't need it, because the pipeline has been built. But what the challenge is, how do we keep women in STEM? I'm at the University of Dar es Salaam, sitting in the science. I was pulled out, worked with Hulda here for about 4 years. Then I moved into a whole different space, doing admin. How do you keep women in science? A lot of us get tied up with our biological functions of being a mother, driving a business, and etc. And you have very few women in leadership. Okay, so I wanted to just see Ethel Coffey. She's from Ghana. She's a eagle in tech. And one of the discussions you have a lot is women are not visible in tech. But the landscape in reality is changing. Okay? You do have a few flyers. I know, is it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we had a series of tech billionaires being profiled, and there was only one woman for Tanzania. So the story for Tanzania is probably a little different from what it is in Ghana, but when you walk into a room of tech, it's probably not as it used to be in the past. What the reality is, they're not all founders. You have a lot of women in tech, but are they the founders? Are they the champions? Are they the CEOs? Not as many, still. And there's still work for there. So I think there's still work to be done there. So I think entering the STEM career, great, and there's a lot of government effort, and I really commend government for doing that. However, keeping women in STEM. And it's a whole different discussion that we have. I was part of an initiative that was done by the IDRC, the Canadian-funded development, and they wanted to look in Africa, how has COVID affected research infrastructure, access to research infrastructure. And we did a lot of surveys and a lot of interviews across the continent. And when it came to the challenges, a lot of the female researchers that we talked to said they struggled to grow. A lot of the males, they had, you can use your phone for internet, so even though you were in lockdown, you still had time, you could write, you could publish, and a lot of them produced a lot more. But the women were sitting at home, researchers. When I'm at home, my kids won't leave me alone. I don't know how it works in other people's houses, but my kids, it's like, mama this, mama that, mama this, mama that. It does not end. So I couldn't write a word, and I really felt that I was not alone. So that brought down the level of productivity that women could have done, this whole COVID situation. And what do we do to make sure that these kind of situations don't occur? So your career is short-tailed or curtailed because you're not able to do what is required, but the circumstances dictate that. So I think in terms of leadership and governance, that's something that needs to be thought about quite usefully. Another opportunity is in scaling innovations that will really address women. And I want to say I was glad to be part of COSTECH at the time. They had the HDIF support, which is now transformed into Funguo, doing yet more great things. But at the time with HDIF, there was a pet project I liked, and that was Dageno Girls, where they were looking at supporting girls with skills beyond the times that they had gone through, which were quite difficult times, teenage pregnancies, et cetera, difficult lives at home. And how do you help girls that age still come out and be responsible members of society with livelihoods that they can run their own families? And when you look at innovative support, which is what COSTECH does, and supporting platforms like Buni, and then you have the likes of Apps and Girls, who got a lot of support from innovation partners, how do you really allow them to come up with innovations that will help, one, themselves, and two, contribute to society so that they feel responsible and they're not really seeing themselves as cripples and derelicts of our society? So how do we come up with that and look at really where does science, technology, and innovation contribute to this whole discussion? It's not just about having a great innovation, but there's got to be science behind it so that it can scale to grow. How do they utilize technology so that it can also move out of their own community and scale beyond that? A good example, I mentioned Apps and Girls, what they were doing with the support that we gave them in another program that I worked, not with, connected to COSTECH, but on a more SADC level, they partnered with Microsoft and a South African tech startup at the time. It's no longer a startup. So they partnered to give these girls skills that would allow them, and these are girls who coming from difficult homes, standard 7, not necessarily university graduates, and how do you really equip them with skills and understanding of how to survive outside. So it was basically ICT, teaching them websites and just giving them that confidence of what it needs, what they need to do to be able to move to the next level. And that was really great. So how do you look at that, and where do you interject science, technology, and innovation and do a lot more of it? Well, the answer lies in a lot of things that one of them, COSTECH has done. Mainstream gender. Okay? And I don't think we can say it enough. Have gender in all our policies. We do have a very good gender policy as a country. We have a lot of gender initiatives that are being done, but we need to see gender being mainstreamed into all our policies. Okay, so if the agricultural policy has a gender, I know it has a gender framework, but each and every policy, because women are everywhere, minority groups are in every different sector, can we have gender being mainstreamed into all of that? And the gender mainstreaming framework that COSTECH has launched, was it last month or 2 months ago? Was it last year maybe? Sometime. Very recently, they have one, I know because I attended the event, talks about how academics, research, R&D institutions can mainstream it into their programs. Because surprise and surprise, as much as we talk, and there's a lot of research out there, even academic institutions probably don't use a gender lens in what they do. And when they come to COSTECH asking for funding and COSTECH asks them, where's gender? They're like, what? That's really not my question, isn't it? It's like not part of my research. I'm doing hard science. I'm like, no, we need to see a gender profile. Representation. But it really comes from the bottom. The beneficiaries need to be included. And when I say the beneficiaries, it's the base of the pyramid, because the research we do is really to transform our society as a country, okay? Including active actors of change. And these are our NGOs that work in the gender space. I must say, as a disclaimer, when I was at COSTECH, I never invited civil society to any of the events that I was a part of. It never occurred to me, not because I didn't want them. It just never occurred to me that what would they be saying. But these are advocates, promoters of what we do as a commission. You know, we generate knowledge, which we get from our partners or beneficiaries, the R&D institutions, but how do you get it out there? How do you make sure that the women and the minority groups, the disabled and all the others are really absorbing that information in a way that they can utilize that without using a medium like these civil society organizations. And I think there's value for that. There's a few things I would say not to do, okay? There's also the unfortunate situation, and I want to believe that that landscape or that scenario is changing, where you'd walk into a room of management and you have only one woman. Right? At some point in my career, I was asked to head our department, and as part of the faculty meeting, I was the only woman. For the entire time I was head of department, which was 6 years. Well, I'm a very noisy person, so I really didn't feel like there was an issue, but there was an underlying issue where I had to live up to the expectations to be at par with the men. So I had to work overtime because I was a mother and I wasn't going to stop being that. And yet you were always considered that, yes, it's because they'd ask you, oh, so what do you think? I was like, no. It's not what do I think. I should be part of the mainstream discussion. It's not like a by-the-way thing. So that tokenism, I think, we need to change that in not just women, but also in society. That bubble there that you cannot read, quite honestly, is there's another form of tokenism where I, as a woman, in leadership position, may find it a little difficult or challenging to lift up another woman. And that happens. And that quote that's coming there, that I put up there, is actually from Harvard. Okay, so even in the developed world, sometimes our biggest enemy is ourselves. Okay? Whilst we want the men to include us, we ourselves probably don't promote other women as we should. Okay? And the quote really just says that it's less likely for a woman in leadership when she's alone to ask another woman to join her. But when there's so many women, instead of trying to bring in some men, she'll just have another woman. Okay? So, and there's a lot of things. So the favoritism or the imbalance is not a one-directional thing. Okay? And we need to just be aware of that. Another thing that we also need to be very careful with, especially when we're looking at technology, and I would have liked to go back to the slide where I talk about fourth industrial revolution technologies, is how in trying to help correct the imbalance, we may create other imbalances. And a good example I was reading about is about women in Senegal, where they tried to help. What the intervention to solve a rural women's female problem was to give them, to improve their water and sanitation. And whilst they were doing that, these women had been doing micro businesses in a way, that I would leave my house, walk my 3 or 4 kilometers, but I would then bring water for a woman who's selling food at the market. Okay, so that was part of my job. I'd take water for my house, but then I'd also take water for person that is selling food. And by providing water at the point source, because when we go in and we try and understand what the issues are and we want to solve them, we ask the women at the market, so what are your challenges? Oh, I have to pay this amount for water. And they're like, okay, fine, let's dig a well. Forgetting that I've cut out this woman who now doesn't have a livelihood. But I see her going to the well, and I'm like, you can also get water from here. But then she doesn't have an income because her job was to fetch water. So whilst we're developing solutions, we need to be very in touch with the social and environmental parameters that really revolve and drive society. Okay? So I think otherwise we might be creating more problems than we are resolving. And I know we have a lot of that when we just have climate change discussions, so I won't go into that, Dr. Hulda. So I've mentioned that we've come a long way, I think, and I'll acknowledge my ignorance in this, but I think it's time we probably take stock of what we've done, acknowledge what we've been able to achieve, and then develop new strategies for where we need to go forward. I don't think we have some holistic study that tells us Tanzania has done this to really change the gender dynamics, and these are still gaps where we need to put a lot more effort. So let's talk.
Thank you so much, Dr. Flora, for that insightful presentation. I would like to just open up the floor just for 2 questions. If anyone has a question, you're welcome. And in the meantime as well, if there's any questions from the YouTube viewers, now is the time. A question, a comment? Yes?
Really interesting discussion and talk. Thank you. So what are the metrics that we should be measuring? Is it just how many people are in STEM working and studying, or? You left us hanging here.
I left you hanging. Okay, so for me, metrics is, have we done our evaluation? Are we making progress? So there's several questions and several lines you can take. How many women do we have as researchers? We probably have that very quickly if we ask Kostek to give us the numbers. But what are they doing? Are they creating impact? We had a great ceremony last Saturday where they profiled women who are doing amazing things. How many women do they have behind them? I don't know if those questions are being answered. How many women do, like, I'm at the end of my career. How many women have I trained? How many women are coming into my footsteps? How many women are they training? So are we seeing that pipeline grow, or are we building schools and then at some point we'll still turn around and say there's not enough women? So I think we've got to really dig deep and answer those kind of questions so that we can say, yes, Tanzania is changing. And for me, the biggest gap you see in careers, more than you see in the efforts that governments, it's easy to push girls through school. They're very smart. Sorry, men are smart, but not as smart. I have to admit that. They can, because we can multitask. So getting through school, getting through, life is everything. But then how do you entice women to stay very strong in science? We have a few eagles, and if you look through the history of Tanzania, I think you have the few eagles. In the last 5 years, you still see the same faces. When are we going to see a new generation?
Oh, yeah, there's another question.
Thank you. My name is Cynthia, and my question, not necessarily to Dr. Flora, but to everybody. Who are women in STEM? I think my biggest struggle has been I didn't study a tech degree or science or engineering, but I am in tech, and every time I'm always reminded that I'm not a woman in tech, and I always say, so who is a woman in STEM? Who is it? Is it a person who can code? Is it somebody who's running a tech business? Is it? I've worked with women in rural Tanzania, and they're dropouts, but they were trained on how to handle renewable energy technology, and they're now technicians. Are they not women in STEM? So I think I would want to put meaning to the word of women in STEM, so that, because then that would really help kind of move on the conversation from what have we done, because a lot has been done, and to bring in more women in STEM. But I think sometimes we just consider the really hard STEM people, and that's, yeah. So I guess that question is to everyone. Who is a woman in STEM?
Thank you for that great question. And I'm going to put Dr. Huda on the spot, and she's going to answer this question.
Thank you. I don't want to answer that question. I want also to learn from others because I hope there are some who are here. They know what is STEM. Is it fine?
Thank you, Dr. Huda. The question has been brought back to the crowd. Who'd want to take on this? Anyone? Anyone? Once? She wanted to understand who are the women in STEM. Is it the ones that have they do the hardcore jobs, or is it in her case that could she also consider herself as a woman in STEM? And so she just wanted clarification in terms of like what does it really mean for someone to be called for a woman to be called a woman in STEM. So that's
Okay, I'll try. But STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So if you're doing anything in that, whether it is the research, whether it is the teaching, whether it's the operation, or even the business, you're a woman in STEM.
Does that answer your question? Okay, I gave that away. So next time, you're in for it. All right. Let me thank Dr. Flora for this great presentation. If we can give her a hand of applause. This was very, very insightful, Dr. Flora, and I believe many of us have gained an understanding in terms of like especially in the part where she was talking about how it's important that before making decisions, we have to basically start from the ground up. It's important that we get to know what is really the issue, the root cause, before we answer the question. And so I hope even as we're going to go back to our homes, we're going to continue asking ourselves these questions, that if we're in the places where we're making policies and things like that, that we will consider the people who are being affected by the policies that we make when we're on those top levels. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna ask, I'm told there's a photographer. We need to take a group picture and they can come and explain that. Thank you. Is that promise? We're gonna do it here, or? I'm not aware where we're supposed to take the picture. And after that, we'll come back for some more. Yes, we'll have two more presentations. And yes, that will be. Thank you for the great participation.
presenting as well. See here? Yeah.
Can we all come and stand behind? Short ones to the front.
Yes, you're supposed to be.
Yes. Before I welcome Kiko, let me just express our sincere gratitude to our esteemed partners, UNCDF, UNICEF, and CRDB. Can we give a round of applause? Thank you very much for being here and for your participation. Kiko, you're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Is it evening or afternoon? Good afternoon. It's still afternoon, right? Yeah, so we're going to have a sort of, it was written an icebreaker. But actually we're going to get our hands dirty. We're going to do some stuff, together. I hope it's going to be interactive and productive as well. Because at the end, we'll need to have some deliverables, some outputs from the activities we're going to do. So we're going to have a group activities. But before that, I would like to ask for volunteers before even I say what you're going to do. So I need to see if we can get 5 volunteers. And I'll be very happy if there will be more women than men. Yeah, so can I have 5 volunteers, please? There are good things coming. Come on, guys, huh? Yeah, thank you. So you can join me here. So I have one already. Can I have another? Thank you very much. Yes, so we have 3 already. Can I have another? No, I'm not saying like men don't come up. Come front. I'm not saying like I don't want men, but yeah, you're welcome. I already have 3, so can I have 2 men? Okay, great. One guy then. One guy. Someone from Zanzibar, right? Okay, great. Yeah, I see. So, can we have? Awesome, awesome. So we have 5 great ladies here. Okay, the exercise is a simple one. So you're going to count a number up to 5. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the easy one. That's the easy part, huh? Yeah. So can you do that? Maybe we start from there. Okay, awesome. So you go there, and then you see those pieces of papers have been written numbers. So you pick any 2. But if in your group they are like of 2 different colors, you pick 1 from each color. So you pick any 2 pieces of papers from there. In your in your group number will be written in those papers. So see the papers which have like your number. I'm sure all of you remember your number, right? Awesome. So go there and then you see the numbers written on those pieces of paper. Pick any 2, except if your number has 2 different colors, you have to pick from each colors. Yeah, so while they're doing that exercise, we're going to have a group activities, and we're going to have 5 groups. And then in those 5 groups, so we'll count numbers. So we'll start with ladies, we'll count 1 to 5, and then we'll come to the men, counting 1 to 5, so that we have balances in our groups. Huh? Yeah, so can we start with ladies? Can we count 1 to 5 quickly? Yeah, so we start from here. Okay, we start from here going this way. You're not counting. Okay, if you go there, you might count. So just wait there. They count and then we'll come back. So can we start here? 1. We are counting 1 to 5. Only ladies for this round, huh? 1 to 5, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, yes. Are you with us? So, yes. So we have, what's your number? 4. So, 5, 2, 4, 5. All right. So it's balanced, huh? Can we go for men now? 1 to 5. 5. So anyone who is with us, you can count from there. 1. Okay. Yes. Yes. No, you. Yes. 2. 4. 5. 1. Your number is, no, it's your 1. Yeah, you're 1. Okay, great. So what we'll do, can we pick places? We'll be the group leaders. And then we're going to, so all with 1s, they'll go. And so can we see someone with a number 1? So all the 1s will go with her. And then all the 2s will go with her. All the 3s, 4s, and 5. Can we do that quickly? So can we find places where we can sit? I think we are not more than 8, right? Yeah, so we're not more than 8 in the groups. So I will explain what you're going to do now. But before that, I want to say why we are doing this. Huh? Yeah, so we can find ourselves places. I think we can sort ourselves out. Huh? I'm sure chairs will be enough, right? And perhaps we might need, I don't know how we'll write, but we'll figure out. You guys will figure out how you're going to write, but you need to note down some things at the outputs because you'll need them. Huh? So can we do that exercise quickly? Can we just split quickly? So all the 1s, where will the 1s be? Yeah, thank you. It's better we keep some spaces between groups, huh? Because there will be some discussion, huh? Yeah, so it's better we keep some spaces between the groups. So the group reader, the primary role of a group reader will be to listen and note down and make sure like everyone is involved, everyone is participating. So that will be role number one. But role number two of the group reader will be doing presentation. So make sure you listen to everyone's idea, because at the end we want you to give us a summary of your group activity. You share the output with all of us. I hope each one of you can hear me. Yeah, so I said the first role of the group leader will be to listen to what everyone is saying and encourage everyone actually to participate, but also make sure you noting that down, because at the end you are going to present. We're going to have 3 minutes to summarize your discussion. And our discussion is going to be 15 minutes. So what you have there, what you have case studies and some research findings, some study findings. I'm going to give you the piece of papers right now. I made a mistake. I was supposed to give these to group readers already. But so I want you to decide in your group. You don't know which one is. Okay, so can I know the number, for instance, this group? Inside your papers? Case study 5 and case study what? 5 and 7. All right. So all of you can open those papers, the folded piece of papers. You see they're written like, for instance, case study 5 and 7. Maybe yours might be an article 1 and 2. So I'm giving you these piece of papers which have those articles or those case studies. And then you're going to choose one of the two. You're not going to discuss all the two. You're going to choose one of the two. So you decide which one you want to discuss. So we have, can I, combo? Is combo around? Okay, even, yeah, can you help me? So you check this, check the groups, and then whichever number they are having, you give them. So it's like, these are the numbers. That was case study 1, case study 2. Yeah, so you give them quickly. Yeah, so he will be distributing those. So you tell him what number, if it's case study 5 and 7, you will tell him, and then he'll give you that case study, right? And then from what he'll give you 2, but you will scan it quickly in less than 30 seconds. You should be able to scan it quickly and decide which one you want to work on. All right? So you pick one of the 2. Is that clear enough? Perfect. So what we're going to do, okay, so what are we trying to achieve with this activity? So those case studies are around gender lens innovation, gender lens design, and system level solution that are addressing issues related to gender divide and inclusivity. But also we'll have some tools and approaches that have been used in those case studies to actually solve some of these challenges. So we'll go and read those case studies, and then we'll need to understand and analyze and be able to identify which tools. So for instance, for those in marketing, so there are 5 groups. So for instance, those who in marketing, that will be group number 1. So for you, actually, you need to identify which approaches or which strategies they use to actually market to what? To women. So they have programs that they want to reach women. So which approaches they used, marketing approaches they used to reach to women. And then what you'll do from there, you need to, that is clear what I'm saying, yes? Yeah, you're going to discuss it as a group. Can you ask the question?
So we read as a group, but it's hard to read together.
It's hard to read together? Oh, I see. And we have less papers now. Maybe the group reader, you just think creatively and see how we can do it. Now we have limited resources, and that's what we have. So figure out how we are going to understand those 2, and then we proceed from there. I'll proceed with the instruction, and then maybe I'll come in your groups and see how we can make it happen. Huh? So for those in marketing, for instance, you need to identify tools, approaches, or strategies they used to reach to women. and then state how you make them better, or if there are other strategies you'd use to reach to those women. So those are three things. The strategy they used to reach to women, and how you make those strategies they used better. But what other strategies have you used or you'd use to accomplish the same goal? Is that clear? For those in marketing, for instance. And there are those who have gender lens innovation, system level design. So for those, also, you need to identify the tools and approaches they used, which will be stated actually in the case studies. But I want you to identify those, write those down, and then for those who have experience with using those approaches, all those tools, you can share with the group now how successful was it. But I want you first to see from the case studies and see how it was successful and if you make it better. But the output I'm expecting, for instance, for that matter, is like which tool they used, which other tools you could have used for the similar challenges. So I also want to know that. But for other groups, so it's much or less the same. If you have any challenge, you let me know. But some other are like their problem and then they develop solutions. These are, they call system level solutions. So can you identify that solution? And could you come up with a better solution? So you say which better solution, so we discuss as a group and come up with that. So why are we doing this? First is to be able to share our experiences with using these solutions, these tools, these approaches. But first, to learn from other people who have used them successful, because these are real world case studies. But also to be able to think creatively than just what you knew. So briefly at the end, we will need to know what other best practices, what other better approaches and solutions you would have used other than the one which have been written there, the obvious one. So I've taken out the obvious. So you can think creatively and come up with even other better approaches and solutions. But also, we need to figure out ways we could promote this to our own work and our organization and the community at large. So whatever best practices that we identify and we come up with, we need to figure out ways. So all of us in all groups, which ways would you use to promote them to our own work, to our own organizations, and also to the community at large? That is clear, right? Am I talking too fast? And I'm giving you a lot of information. Wow. Let me allow room for question. Three things. Okay. The first thing is to identify which approaches or solutions or tools they have used to tackle or address a specific problem in the case study. Okay? So that's one, to identify a specific approach, tool, or solution. You will see them from the case studies. So it will be different with different groups. So once you identify that, you figure out if you discuss if there is anyone who has experience using those tools, how they work. Okay? So that we need to understand those tools. Someone with experience will have more insights about how that tool works, all right? Yeah, and then we need also to figure out if there are other better tools or better approaches or better solutions that could have been used or better practices. Is that clear? Yeah, so and the last thing is which ways could you use to promote those tools, approaches, or best practices to your own work, your organization, or the community at large. So those are three things. I hope they are clear, right? Perfect. So if there are no challenges, please, we can start our activities.
hands-on investment. The positive side, yes. What was the gap? They didn't find the gap? They didn't see anything bad. They didn't say anything bad because there's a gap. Because this is too conclusive. Yeah. It means that everything is okay and everything is not.
Yeah, otherwise there's no
No
need
need
for
to
better.
call, yes, no need for other tools and anything. But
If you guys have like limited experience, and none of you have like experience on this, or maybe you can share experience because there's no gap. I think this is setting for me.
yes. I don't know, maybe if we could know the settings, because they say that they invest, they find this STI in this company, whatever the company. So they even see on the CSR, on the community side. So, I don't know, and they just say products. I don't know what kind of products were there.
With the company provides. So it's very general.
Yeah, it's very general. Yes, it's just
Excuse me, do you have the facilitator? We want to ask him some questions. Or can we ask you as well? You can, oh, let me call.
because even they
Sorry, sir. The case study we received is very general. Like, they didn't say what it
That's cheating. He's doing something.
working smarter. Working smarter, huh? We use all available tools.
Hi.
Hi.
Can I borrow you for a minute?
Sure.
Yes. I wanted to, because we have a YouTube live, so I wanted to just ask you a question.
Okay.
Like, how are you finding this workshop today? What are your
I
views?
came late.
Ah,
I came late. Why don't you ask my colleague Hamisa, because she's been here since the beginning. I just
Oh.
got here at 3.
okay.
She's wearing red with a black headscarf.
Okay, then let me call. Is she the leader of the group? Oh, no. I need. Oopsie. Hi. So, are you? Can I borrow you? Oh, yeah. I just want someone to quickly share, just you, if you can quickly share just your experience in this workshop, so that we can keep our YouTube viewers active, just for a little bit. Like what you're learning, what you've learned so far, and what you're hoping to learn by the end of this workshop.
Like right now?
Mbona kama hutaki kutujibu maswali yetu? Anauliza maswali.
Nauliza maswali au unafanyaje?
Unaweza kuwa kama ninafanya labda kama conversation kama nauliza. Kama nauliza.
Itoe kwenye mute. Unmute. Mic. Unmute. Tayari. Ushatoa sauti.
So promise.
Unmute.
Ready? So, Promise, I know you're one of the organizers for this workshop. So, can you just tell us in very few sentences what is it that you're hoping to achieve by the end of this workshop?
The Gender Lens workshop, or applying Gender Lens in STI, is part of the African EU Networking Academy interventions. And what is very important about this activity, or about this workshop, is having the chance to equip digital innovation hubs and startups in how to think, or gender lens thinking tools and designing tools, so that when we go out there, our programs are with the gender equality in mind, that we're always having that conversation about the gender and what we can do to improve, and we're not assuming things. So it's basically equipping startups and digital innovation hubs in understanding, applying how to apply a gender lens.
And so, what is it that you're hoping to achieve from this particular workshop?
So we think the tools that will be developed today, the thinking that will be here, the participants, and like right now the session that is going on, will have a deeper conversation and deeper understanding on how they can use these tools into their own settings and develop a more gender-focused or gender-equal programs.
All right. Thank you, Promise. This was very helpful.
Mshikie mic lakini.
So, Kiko, I see you've given the participants a very tough exercise. Can you tell us a little bit about this exercise that they're doing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the exercise is based on real world case studies. So these things other people have tried. These are approaches which are around gender lens designs and innovations. So we want the participants to see what other organizations or other initiatives like they have, which approach they have used to actually address gender inclusivity. So for that matter, they will have a deep understanding of the real world problem, but also they will have opportunity also to analyze those cases and see if they could come up with other best practices or better ways they could solve those similar kind of problems that are experienced, especially when it comes to women in ICI. I mean, it's STI. Yeah, science, technology, and innovation.
All right. Thank you, Kiko. And how is the exercise going?
Actually, it's going on very well. The participants are really engaged, which is very encouraging. Yeah, so time is up, but they still want to still working on them, which is a good sign. But yeah, because of time, we just have to close. But so far, I think they have understood the exercise and they're doing really well.
Thank you, Kiko. I think it's about time we wrapped it up.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask our 5 volunteers. As we are returning to our seat, I'm going to ask our group leaders to come and give us a brief summary of the output. And these outputs, I would like to hear or expect to hear about which approaches or solutions or tools or strategies that you have identified that were used in those case studies. And if it was an article, then what strategies or approaches have been recommended in that particular article, especially for group number 5. But also, if there are any way that you could make them better. So that's second part. Third part, if there is any better strategy or better tool or better solution that you could use to address those issues. And lastly, that's the fourth thing. Lastly, you can skip the number 2, how we could make the strategies better because of time. But I would like to hear about what strategies or approaches or tools they used, and then what better approaches, tools that you could use instead. And then what ways you could use to promote that in your own work or your organization or the community at large. That's clear enough, right? Yeah, so those 3 things. I think 2 minutes should be enough, right? Fair. Awesome. Karibu.
I'm the first one. So, hi everybody. I think it doesn't work. Sorry. Hi, online guys. Hi, everybody. My name is Tian. So my group is number 4. What we did is a case study. So the case study is about implementing a gender lens investment strategy in science, technology, and innovation fund. So in this case study, the problem identified is women has lower participation in leadership and technology roles, and this gender gap is largely due to the structural barriers such as like discriminations, like access of capital, limited networks. The things that the approach in this case study are 4. So the first one is access to capital. That means as an investor, when they use gender lens investing tools, the first thing they look at is women take leadership role in this company. As a discussion in our group, we think not only leadership role is important. Probably the investor should also consider technology roles. Like the women can be CEO, but they can also be CTO. And it doesn't like, some of the companies has multiple founders. So it's also very important to say like the role of the woman is critical. Like if she really has the decision power of the company. And the second approach is the product and the services. So this means the investor also looking at is if the company design a gender smart services or product to the beneficiaries, to the client. And the third is the employment. That's easy to understand. It just means the investor also look at if the company are gender friendly. Like, do they have bias when they employ female applicants? And the last one is the community impact. That means the investor also looks like if the company has positive impact on the community, especially for women. Then we also think another a good approach for this is they should look at they should do a due diligence for bias and discriminations as well. Sometimes the problem is very hard to identify because people won't say like they don't want women, but they will refuse you in different reasons. So I think a due diligence for this is also important. And another thing is they should have like in strategy level or in their company policy, they should be gender friendly as well. Like they have to have a vision of a gender friendly environment in the company. And
last but not least, we also think what we want is not women-friendly environment. What we want is a gender equality environment. So sometimes men doesn't have opportunities as well. So what we want to make sure, so all the companies should have equal opportunity for everyone. It doesn't matter it's men or women. Thank you.
Oh, hi everyone, my name is Tarsila, and our case study was marketing a STEM program to the female audience. So we firstly identified tools used, and they use social medias, campaigns, they use events and workshops, but also they use to partner with local business and internships. For the next, we went to see how do they work in our real life. And we realized that the social media campaigns, they really work good in urban areas, but in rural areas, they doesn't work because some of these ladies can't even afford having a smartphone, but also some of the women, they only have the small phones, and sometimes you find even it's only a man who has the phone. So they can't access the social medias and neither the internet itself. But also, we saw on the background factor, on the part of internships, most of opportunities came with some group of people. For example, the Mama Samia internship. So like most of the ladies that they have to be given some internships, they have to have high performance. But you find a girl was studying in a very poor school, probably government school, interior. So she already had a bad background in her study. So automatically she can't afford this internship. And also we went to see what are the other better tools that we can use. So we can start a STEM program from primary level and have like science clubs. And ladies or women will be able to get interest in science since when they are very young, from maybe standard 1 to standard 7, so they can grow up with spirit of loving science itself, loving mathematics, and be able to create different solutions to solve our community challenge and to grow up in science field. But also giving back to the community. There are some few ladies, especially, for example, in our group, we had one of the ladies that in their school only there were like 5 of them who performed from Form 4 to go to the next level. So they went back to their community and like inspire others. So we have a lot of ladies here. We have a lot of other people out there who they really move from hard point and they get successful. So we need, as ladies, women, we need to go back to our community, inspire the other people, inspire women, inspire girls, so that they can have the spirit to move on. And which ways can be used? Like currently we can move on with them. We can still use social medias, but also we can use non-governmental organizations to reach directly to the community to provide different STEM programs.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. We were group 3, and the problem or the challenge in case study 11 was limited funding for women-led initiatives. And the approaches that we saw were partnerships with existing funds. So the group decided that they will create awareness with existing funds and help them kind of cater to women needs in the application process. The second bit was create new funding, a new funding organ or organization so that there is more funding for women. And then there's providing training and resources for women in STEM to make stronger applications. So one thing that we discussed or we noticed was the fact that this was very supply-led. It was more of creating more funding, availability of funding, but nobody stopped to speak to the actual women in terms of what the needs are. Is it just limited funding? It's more of a wholesome problem. So we felt that talking to women and understanding their problems would have kind of come up with a better approach. Another thing that we found was creating awareness for the funds. It's not just enough to create the funding, of the availability of funding, but making sure that the person who needs it the most is reached. So that's another better tool that we thought the case study could have taken. And then, of course, it's very much input-based outcomes. It's very much what the group of women were able to do as opposed to output-based outcomes where the women would actually get the funding and start the businesses. So that's another approach that could also be looked into. What ways will we use in our work forward? The ones that we've suggested, one, really speak to women on the ground who would be receiving the STEM funding, as opposed to just researching from the supply side what is available and what's not, and creating more awareness for the women who will be receiving the funding.
Hi, I'm Asha Nasib, and our case study is number 5, and we are group number 2. The case study is design an innovation program for women in STEM. In this case study, it shows the challenge. The challenge is the gender bias, lack of representation, and flexibility workplace culture. And we designed this program to empower women in STEM, and the approach that I used in this case study, the first approach was supporting community. They say they can support the community, like you can offer mentorship support and networking opportunity, and we influence face-to-face women who are successful. And the second approach is skill building workshop. This workshop, it's maybe a training program, internship, marketing, and entrepreneurship, project management, and leadership. And the third approach was access to funding. We help them to pursue their goals. And fourth approach was flexibility. We add maybe if the women have a working place, we should also ask out workshop with HR and organize meeting to help the women. We can flexible to their family and work. The way how to reach those targeting for women in this case study, we marketing by social media. We use maybe all social media, maybe like Facebook, Instagram, and also community outreach program. We add like we can reach in the school, university, and going to their community area. And also how to reach them, personal personalized messaging. This can help to emphasize unique program for the women needs. And also, it's finished. Thank you.
Yes, good evening, everybody. My name is Epifania, and I'm here representing group number 5. Yeah, so we came up with 5 approaches on how to revolutionalize STI for women. The first one being formulating policies and practices that promote women engagement in STI. We know there are those policies that are already there, but what we need to do is to make sure that they are being practiced so as we can achieve the goal. We also have to come up with different initiatives to ensure women are participating in STI. This could be maybe coming with ideas on how we can engage more women to participate in whatever we are doing in our institutions. Like if we are offering educational programs, then we need to create room for women to to participate as men do, either by opening the window for only women to apply or having something like that. We also have to change the mindsets of the communities. Like we know there are those communities that are trying to abandon women, like not to take part in changing the I don't know what I should mention, but taking part in contributing towards the STI. So we need to educate them. For example, I can take an example of the Maasai community. They always abandon women, like they have to take responsibility, just home responsibilities, not engaging in other economic and social and other. Yes, yeah. So we need to educate them so as they can change that. We also need to conceptualize what innovation is. Like we are here talking about innovation, but there are those who are just practicing it, but we don't see them like they are doing it. So we need to define that well so as we can know who is doing what, and is he or she taking part of in innovation industry or not. Then from there we can know where we are. We also have to consider the diversity in leadership. Like women also have to get chance to take high positions, to make decisions and all that. And also access to resources, like women should also get access to funding or training opportunities like what we are doing right here. We also have to unlock full potential of innovation, not just focusing on gender equality. Like we can have gender equality and then what? We need to unlock that and define it well. Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you very much. Can we put our hands together for all of us? Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So thank you very much for the participation. You're very engaging. I don't know if everyone, I was trying to listen if everyone was participating, but I hope most of you have somehow contributed something in this, right? Yeah, awesome. So as I said, the goal here is like, for instance, these outputs that we have come up with, and if I can have those what you, I hope I'll be able to read. If I want, combo wheel. If you can compile them, because the goal is to compile, if you have better ways or approaches or solutions that could be used to address those specific challenges, then it's better these we share, even in social medias. So maybe someone mentioned about sharing those in social medias, but these approaches, people are not aware of these approaches. So we share them out so people become aware that there is even something called gender lens what? Thinking and tools, or gender lens innovation. I don't know how many of us knew about that before we came here today. Can I see by show of hands? Okay, you can put your hands down. But what tells us, like so many people don't know about these things, huh? So if we go out and shout about these strategies, these tools, and this way of thinking, it would be a good idea to spread the word out and make sure like, people start using this. But also in our own wake and in our own organization. That's why I said, let's think of ways we could promote this in our own wake and organization and the community at large. So after saying that, I just want, oh, sorry. So I just want us to know, like, whatever we're doing, we go and also practice this with what? With our organization. So that's where will be the starting point. And see if we could actually incorporate some gender lens design, gender lens thinking into our work. So I think we could start from there, right? Yeah, so any other, one comment, okay, I'll take two, one from a guy and one from a lady. Any key takeaway that you like to share? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Lema Mkwawa. What I want to share with you this evening is that first is term gender. We know gender is msamiati mpya. Hivyo hivyo. ni msamiati mpya. Ni ngumu sana kwa watu wa saizi kuelewa ukisema tu gender. Mfano hapa tulikuwa kwenye group, and when you say gender, people means women. Gender is not about women. We are all relationship between women and men. So how does this relationship affect each other? So that is gender. And we should educate ourselves and our neighbors, our fellow youths, our women, our mothers, fathers, wherever, about gender. So first they should know gender, and second they come and know other terms, innovation, STEM, wherever. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like for a man to share about his understanding of gender lens innovation. So can I hear that from a man, like your understanding of gender lens innovation? Can I have any? Okay, I'll take it even from a lady. If I can't get a man though. Our understanding of gender lens innovation? Is that a very tricky question? Okay, so what we are doing actually, some of us have been working on some of gender lens innovations, right? So I won't explain, but can I, okay, for a man, anything that you would like to share concerning the group activities that we are doing from a man? You want to go? I can't get any, okay, if I can get any man to volunteer, then we're good. So I think we call it a day, right? I mean, for this activity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kiko. Yes, a hand of applause to Kiko. Thank you for that amazing exercise. We're quickly running out of time, so without further delays, I would like to invite Ms. Diana Ninsima, who's the country director for the DOT organization. Karibu.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I was actually feeling the echo from that side, and it was nagging my ears, but now that I feel it again, what can we do about the echo? Just power through it. If you're like me, who doesn't like to hear the sound of my own voice, literally, even when someone has recorded me and they send me a video, I'm like, oh, I don't want to listen to it. I think so. It is, yeah? Thank you. Okay. So I'm super excited to be here. And I'm sure I'm the only person who is still standing in the way of you and your snack. So I hope that I can power through as quickly as possible through this. As I've been introduced, I am called Diana Ninsima, and I wear several hats, one of which is the Country Directorship of Digital Opportunity Trust, or DOT. But I also do support quite a bit of initiatives within the gender space, which probably are not necessarily tied to the work. But we have collaborated with several hubs, accelerators in the past, with DOT, who also are working within the communities that we're in. And some of them, in fact, last year, were able to support them to begin to think about how to apply a gender lens within their hubs. Now, I know probably you might have done this activity before, but just to indulge a bit, how many of us are hub managers or hub leads? By show of hands. Okay. So, and probably hubs takes into account accelerators and labs and the like. Let's assume it does that. We don't want to have... Raise it well. People need to know where to go for conversations related to money. Where? Which CRDB, super. Okay. So now we know who is in the room. And tech is beginning to fail us, so probably what I was going to present, I might as well just talk it through. Yes. So I've been supporting within the innovation space for, well, nearly 10 years. I've been with DOT that long, for 10 years, and for as long as I've existed within DOT, we've been supporting startups, innovation, technology, all with a gender lens. So for us, it's not an add-on, it's an outfit we wear every day. It's embedded in the way we walk and breathe and eat and everything. It's mainstreamed. It's mainstreamed in our budgeting, in our programming, in our design, in our recruitment, absolutely everything. And I think along the way, sorry. This is on the desktop.
Sio desktop ya nini?
So you want to...
Nataka nitume sasa kwa email maana
Yes. Yeah. So for us, I think as an organization, we've had that intentional drive to be gender sensitive. However, we've also had partners that have walked the journey with us and donors that have also been equally invested in this gender approach. For example, our longest serving donor or funder or partner has been Global Affairs Canada. And they have the Feminist International Assistance Policy, FIAP. So you literally have to embed gender even in the proposal development process in terms of how you implement the program, how you evaluate the program and do gender-based analysis of the program, and how you wrap up the program, everything. It has to be embedded. Other stakeholders have been the likes of UNICEF as well, where gender is a key component of any and everything that they fund. So you have to make sure that it really clearly stands out. So we've also been supported in that way by these partners building our capacities and us also building capacities going forward. Now what I wanted to share today is an initiative that I collaborated on with another innovation ecosystem evangelist who is called Catherine Rose Barreto, in case some of you know CR. So together we did a gender and innovation study on behalf of a client in 2021. But when we were brought on board to do the gender and innovation study, we felt that while Catherine Rose and I had this experience within the ecosystem, we are more of collaborative and we wanted to gain more insights from the enablers within the ecosystem. So we decided to partner with some of the hubs that would then become study partners of this study. So we brought on board 4 study partners, and these partners were coming from the regions that represent a different type of persona. You know the thing about programming, at times you design for a persona in Dar es Salaam, but in Iringa it looks entirely different. Vitu kwa ground viko different, eh? That's the word. So we brought on board Ndoto Hub, who is designing probably for some of the women that come from the Dar es Salaam ecosystem. Some of them probably might be Mboga Saba, or some of them might be Mboga Tatu, but at least they are within this ecosystem. We brought on board Ubuntu Hub in Arusha, because again, it represented something different. We brought in Cube from Zanzibar, then Zanzibar has its own opportunities as well as challenges when it comes to support for female entrepreneurs. And then we brought on board Ara Labs from Iringa. Now for those, if you've met Naomi, who runs Ara Labs, she will tell you the ecosystem knows of 5 stages of an innovator, like the one who is on ideation and goes on, but otherwise, others in Iringa are on level 0. that level has not yet been established or known by the ecosystem. And so we wanted to get a sense of what does gender and innovation look like from that point of view. And so they came on board, and we basically said, we're going to support you to learn how to conduct focus group discussions, and you're going to pick women from your ecosystem, bring them into the room and have these conversations with them. And we knew for sure that this would have a ripple effect, not just by the results that would receive, but by the learning that they would also gain in the process of these interactions that they were doing. So we had a very good methodology that involved the study partners. We did focus group discussions, and we also did key format interviews with key stakeholders kwenye ecosystem. So the likes of COSTECH, BUNI, National Economic Empowerment Council, Trademark East Africa, name it. Anyone and everyone really who almost has a bearing within this ecosystem. I guess it failed to play. So some of the things that we did find out, high level, and there's a lot of content in here, but so bear with me if I may act like I'm reading everything, because I will be reading everything. So this was conducted in 2021 at the heart of COVID, and we're able to do everything digitally without meeting anyone. And it worked magic. So some of the things we learned when it comes to gender and business motivation. What motivates women to become entrepreneurs? Are you an entrepreneur? Yeah, what motivated you to become an entrepreneur? Products that help women. And money. See, that's the thing. For us, almost as women, money comes secondary. Like, you won't hear someone a lot of times say, I want to be Africa's next billionaire. But it's more of, I want to create impact. I want to change my community. And that's even within DOT's legacy. We've found that most women end up creating community projects than businesses that are actually going to bring in profit. So they'll be like, as long as I can secure what to eat, that's okay for me. Yes. So the motivations seem a little bit different, but what we learned. Yeah. So being able to bring food to the table was one of the business motivations, so why women start up a business. The other motivation was the growth of digital technologies as well. So this brings this flexibility for women to be able to do business at the comfort of their homes and being able to produce probably from their homes and sell online and all that. So the reduction of mobility and being able to move around and do everything probably in the palm of your hands has been a motivation for some of these women. Believe it or not, on the negative side, even gender-based violence has been a motivation for some of the women to do business, because they felt, if I have to beg for money to buy an underwear every time, and probably if I have to be beaten for everything that I'm asking for, then I'd rather secure my own income And probably that could also be used as a gateway to move out probably of an abusive relationship. So there's been several things that motivate women to do business, but also what we were able to learn is that men are equally very important in this conversation when it comes to gender and businesses and everything else. Most of the times when we have such conversations, it's almost like it's we bring in only women feeling like maybe they're the ones that we're helping, but bringing in men in this conversation is very important, because what we came to discover is also majority of the hub leaders in Tanzania are men. So if they don't get it, if they don't understand it, how are they to open that door and become gender sensitive? And the other thing is, a lot of startups also, probably, if they were empowered with this gender lens, they could be able to innovate solutions or products that take into account needs of a woman. So that in itself was there. So we did realize that some of the startups in the ecosystem that had designed their innovation and put it to the market and found that it fails when it goes to the female audience, it's because they hadn't designed with the women. And when they went back to the drawing board and designed with the women, their products thrived than initially when they had not designed with women at the table. So we do find that most startups, even as they think about the sustainable development goals and innovate around that, through startups and innovation, we could break through and achieve gender equality. If any and each startup is looking at how does my innovation support women, either within the value chain, I think we could get somewhere. So there's that. Hey, let me just walk through. I think it's more coordinated that way. Yeah. Yeah, so we did learn that the men's role is very, very important, you know, to be able to be in this conversation, because you don't know what you don't know, and you'll not be held accountable for things that you don't know. But now that you know, we're hoping that when you go back, there's a change that might happen afterwards. And some of the things that we were trying to question are around gender roles and participation in business, yeah? So the playing field is not the same. When these women are coming in, I can guarantee you from 5 p.m., there'll be several phone calls that will be ringing in this room of how, leo tunapika nini, leo sijui mtoto kafanyaje, and all that. So they'll start sneaking out. Slowly, then it stays the men who are there. And we should not be penalized for those competing priorities. They are competing. They are all equally wanted and needed. And when you look at some of the innovators even, the dynamics of a female-male founder, co-founder, mara nyingi you'll find it's male co-founders or female co-founders because they each get each other's gender. But when it's a male and female co-founder, most of the times what we learned is that the male later buys the female out. Why? If they're going to pitch several times, they're on the way, and this lady is called at home. Kwamba something is happening at home where she's needed. A child is sick. She will drop and will go. And the guy will go, sit in, pitch. Does that several times, feels like he's the one building the business, not the other person. So then ultimately that leads to that. But we also all know the hassle of a startup, right? There are days where we are told that people sleep in offices. Okay, tell me how many women can boldly say I've slept in the office and you'll be understood at home. That I slept in the office, I did an all-nighter, I was coding, I was doing all this stuff. But in these, the stories we hear from men, they will even do 2 days. They haven't come, and they are saying we were there in the office, we were designing. ila inaeleweka, me, I understand them. But for a woman, I'd also look at them and be like, really? You were in the office? Yes, you know, it's there's that will go on. So, but for women who are woman co-founders, they almost all understand each other. And they don't throw the blame on each other. One is down and the other one has an issue, they almost understand each other. So we did realize that even pairs of male-female co-founders, they do have these struggles because of the competing priorities. Which I don't know which slide we are on because it's this. I'm going to be confused. Let me continue here. So there's an issue of time poverty, as we learned from the different women that participate in the program. There's a fear for security. It's not something that comes easy. Even when a woman has a business, to take that bold move to say, well, I'm deciding to go for that pitching competition somewhere, that's not a decision they make lightly or make by themselves. It's surrounded by several other people who might actually enable it or impede it, depending on who that safety net is that surrounds this specific woman. During the study, one of the hub managers told me a very sad scenario that happened where a woman entrepreneur, there was an opportunity shared through the hub, and she was supposed to write and compete for $100,000 grant. And the hub manager saw it, and he felt like she could really get it because her idea was very innovative. And so akamwambia, apply, I could even help you to apply along the way, wherever you fail, you get it. She wrote, and on the final stages really decides to show the significant other and say, hey, I'm about to, I'm almost getting this thing, I think. I have this hunch because I've been supported and I have all the right cards. And he says, don't do it. Don't submit. Nyewe wanawake mshapata hizi hela, mtatupanda kichwani. So don't. He literally stopped her and she didn't progress. She didn't do it. This is a live case from a hub. I think it was Sahara Ventures or something. So the lady calls back and says, no, siwezi ku-apply. They've stopped me. The privileges, you see how it shakes you like, It's the male privileges. You feel that is impossible, but it's very much actually possible. And so she never went for it because of what? What is it? Is it the inferiority, or what is it that stopped the man then from supporting? Because they felt that, no, she would have more power, she'd grow wings with this money, and she would be untouchable. So don't go for it, I'll still take care of you. Your innovation is as small as is, so it should stay as small as is, and we can survive. So that power even to decide on what works for you and doesn't work for you are things we got to learn from the ecosystem. And they were shaking. Things that you hear and you're like, wow, okay, so if we are to enable women, then we need to be looking into most of these things. Some of the other cross-cutting barriers that we found that women actually face in entrepreneurship. You see, I know this is about gender, and men will say, why are you just talking about women? Yeah, your day will come. Because some of the things we unpacked mostly are related to women. And I'll be, very open to hear some of the male-related challenges when it comes to innovation that are coming from a gendered point of view. I'm sure there are plenty also there. So there's access to knowledge and skills for business, which is, doesn't come in easily. When there's full opportunity, a young man will run very quick and access it and enter a session. There are places where we had kwamba, unatakiwa kwamba, unaomba ruhusa as though you're asking for a visa to go to an event. Literally, these are the stories we're hearing. So these things of saying kwamba tonight there might be a deal being cracked at George and Dragon. So let's go. You don't wake up and go. So we learned that most of the business deals are also played through poker games and pool table. That's where things are sealed when a young woman is long gone. She's at home cooking. She comes back the next day, Martin got the business deal because they were chatting, and that's how men do business. That's how they roll. So the playing field is not leveled. Then the challenge of women's access to land, which then later shows up into, if they don't have access to land, then they don't have that collateral. Then if they don't have collateral, then NMB won't give them the money. Then if they don't get the money, then their business won't grow. It's just a cycle. So that too was something that, was seen. And I think it was great to learn that NMB was working on, CRDB, sorry. Blunder, it's the big blunder. When you put one and one who are all strong and confuse the other. My apologies for that. So we learned that one of the banks was trying to negotiate for another, I think, funder who would then pay collateral for women to be able to access money. But this was an external agency that was going to come in and do that. Okay, so then on business formalization and ownership, we also learned that even when people sit with the idea, the man goes and registers the idea, and it's more of formal in their names than it is in the women's name, in the woman's names. Then inability to control the outflow of business profits. Now that too, a woman could be doing a business, but the man will come and pick the profits and go, and you can't talk. So that's why most of them would rather say, let's create accounts where we are putting in, and then it causes more harassment and things related to that. So decision-making culture and stigma, again, a huge impediment for business and innovation. The gendered constructed roles, which I've said, corruption and sextortion. It was also big in the tender applications. This was, quite big that, when a woman goes, and even though the tender was advertised by Costec, they'll be asked for different things, different requirements than what actually is supposed to be the requirement. And most of them were asking, where could we get the support that helps us to even report some of these barriers that we have? There's also refusal by families to support women enterprises. One, in specific cases, we learned that education, especially in the Zanzibar community where we're interviewing women, education is not a priority. If you're to pick between male and female, then the male will get it. Even when it comes to enterprise development. Why? Because they felt that this is a loss of an investment. This woman is going to go, they become a property of some other household, and they're going to take care of them, so we don't need to invest on this other side. So those are some of the things that went into the decisions of not supporting from that point of view. Then there's also gender-insensitive media. I don't know how many stories of successful female entrepreneurs that we've been able to tell, or female innovators, right? Or either because we don't push enough to have that in media, and every time I would Google the world's most successful entrepreneurs, there comes like 19 men and one Oprah Winfrey on Google. Do that even now. You might find the same image comes to you. Or either because men entrepreneurs already, because of those stories that are being told, they've popularized the internet, that now what you search, almost that is what comes out. So there's a lack of literacy and numeracy, again leading to the NANI, and access to technology and digital skills. When we were learning, again, we learned that a woman, there's a focus group discussion where we're asking who has access to a smartphone. And this young man says, my dad has 2 smartphones, my mom has Kitoch. And we asked, why the imbalance. And he says because dad has a lot of engagements with key important people, but mom is only a stay-at-home mom. So she doesn't really need the smartphone, and that's what they're using at home. So that too, told us quite a bit. In the world of technology, where there's a lot of digital businesses and men creating enterprises, women creating enterprises from their homes, this becomes a challenge. So what can we do? Majority of you, when Kiko was presenting, we had lots of solutions that you've presented within. And it speaks to the study's recommendations as well on how do we close the gender-digital divide. It does require concerted efforts, one, from the ecosystem for entrepreneurship and innovation. So how do we establish support system on gender policy frameworks? The STI policy, you'll be happy to know, is of 1996. Okay? Where were you in 1996? There's been a draft review, which was, I think, since 2013, it was never finalized. So there's that too. If we have policies that don't catch up with the modern day woman who now is very independent, they want to do business, be entrepreneurial, innovate, then there's a challenge there. So we need to be working on establishing supports for gendered policies and all that. We need to ensure that women have equity to access, treatment, and outcomes. Create safe training environments where they're able to learn and grow. Women are not homogeneous creatures, right? So there's places where you feel like women will come, but then there's a woman probably from a Muslim community who is not allowed to be in a certain environment, but another woman could use that environment. So you need to take care into context such things. So creating safe spaces where people know when they enter, they are going to report in case there's any challenge that they face. Yeah, so use human-centered design approaches as well. Don't think your program is a one-size-fits-all. When you're designing any call for application, whether it's CRDB or any, how is this going to affect women? How are women going to take a part of this? How are they going to reap the benefits of this? So you should have that female-centered design lens when thinking. Enhancing women's capacity to network, because some of us have been told when you go out and you're going out, you're labeled the wrong way when you're just trying to network. But a man just goes and laughs and high fives and all that, and it's fine. So women need to be nurtured in terms of building that confidence to network and be out there in the space. Increase awareness and information sharing. Some of these information, believe it or not, don't reach the women. Creating innovative approaches to improving access to finance and programs. So they could be female-only windows. They could be how do we lift off the weight of collateral by maybe looking at movable collateral, not necessarily fixed, which the women don't actually have. Probably could they create a group where they are then given money from. Exploring alternative funding mechanisms such as time-bound funding, unrestricted flexible funding, movable collateral, which they can be used in general etc. And for specific funding programs, we are required to set a target of whoever we are funding. So it shouldn't be a case of only men applied, so we gave them the money. No. There should be a target of we want to reach 50-50 with this funding. So whatever come rain or shine, we have got to have 50-50 funding when it comes to this. So ensuring that we set a target, use phased approach applications in the process. We have to conduct targeted outreach to women entrepreneurs. I'll tell you, even in the scenario of DOT, when we advertise, women apply the last. I don't know whether they're always seated reflecting on should I apply, should I not, should I apply, should I not, or is it going to be a fit or not? Or is it because they've not received the information at the right time, they've received it last minute? We have never cracked that code. So we have to be able to conduct targeted outreach for women entrepreneurs. We could reach out to female support groups and say kuna opportunity hii. We could reach out to other gender sensitive organizations and say kuna opportunity hii, but be deliberate and target. We need to collaborate with innovation ecosystem stakeholders. There are hubs where you would ask, do you have access to women? They say no. But how come or why can these hubs coordinate with other hubs and support the pipeline that they already have within that? So for example, if there's a hub that deals with in only ideation, they could become a talent pool for a hub that is on prototype, where they're actually channeling that and have this pipeline of support until these women grow and become these unicorns that we want them to become. We also need to revise and review donor investment in the pipeline. Believe it or not, also donors, majority of donors don't have a gender-sensitive approach when it comes to investment. So we need to be looking into that as well. We need to set targets for applications from women. Please, whoever works in the hub or whatever space, we need to set targets and be able to know if we want 400 applications, then out of these applications, 300, they need to be female applications and need to go out and set and achieve that target. We need to engage women through process with additional capacity building and support. Ensure that gender equality is a strategic priority. So for example, many hubs don't have strategies, gender strategies. So how do you then create a plan where you attract more women? So having these standard operational procedures that are speaking to gender is very important, because then that's your roadmap. It tells you how you recruit, when you recruit, how you retain, how do you sustain, everything. So without the policies and the frameworks and the strategies, then we are throwing darts in the dark and hoping that they'll catch something. So program design needs to be holistic. We need to use the data in decision making. We need to engage family members. When you're recruiting a woman, best believe you're not recruiting her as an individual. You're recruiting whoever surrounds them. And if you don't mobilize that safety net for her, she will fall on the ground and she'll never rise. That's it. I've gone into several meetings where I would be in front and talking, and it's a graduation of our entrepreneurs, and I would see a very angry man seated in the back. And then I would probably ask someone, who is that? Is that beneficiary? No, ni mme wa fulani. And this person has come in, they're sitting, and they want to say, huko anakokwenda every day, is it for learning? Yeah? So before any program has started, that initial community engagement process needs to happen. It's the baseline. It's the baseline to make sure everyone understands that this is the experience the woman is going to go through, this is how it's going to grow them, to support them, and this is how it looks like even when it comes to the benefits it's going to bring for the family, for the people surrounding and all that. Then that way, they're able to understand and support. We also need to have a pool of gender diverse mentors, yeah? So all this, we need to be thinking about it. Okay. How many of us have a gender lens theory of change, part of our hubs and accelerators? Gender lens theory of change. No? See, this is all part of program design and the strategies and the frameworks, everything required. So when all is said and done, what does success look like when you're engaging women? So it's critical to have a gender lens theory of change, conduct targeted outreach for women entrepreneurs, ensure communication materials and languages are gender inclusive. Have you seen on most, some of the adverts that go out of late, it just shows women are highly encouraged to apply. It's there for a reason. But even then, even in our organization where we say this is a women-only call, men will apply. Men will apply. But we're just basically putting those statements so that women feel that probably traditionally they've felt when they make sure that they feel they are welcome to apply, and at times that's the trigger they need for them to, get in that application, which probably they wouldn't have gotten in. We need to have established gender-sensitive accountability mechanisms in place, embed gender analysis. We learned that in the material of the reports being shared, even nationally, don't have sex disaggregated data. And without sex disaggregated data, then you're not able to make the right programming or decisions or everything, because you don't know who is male or female, at what point they need which different supports. So even as we look at our reporting within the different hubs and accelerators, we need to be thinking about how do we begin to break down our reports and provide that sex disaggregated data that even goes into age disaggregated data, because then it tells you which women of which age bracket are interested in whatever offering that they could be supported in. Yes, and I think in terms of the institutional and government, because there are also recommendations that are going to that front, we identified a couple of them, that there needs to be a development of an equity charter, which would focus on looking at all forms of discrimination and exclusion within STI, which is non-existent at the moment. And then we need to have a hybrid public good approach, which looks at several things. Yeah, we need to have female-directed broadband programs that serve to support local government authorities to equip women entrepreneurs to utilize digital fully, which currently the gender digital divide is just quite immense. It's about 20 to 30% against 70% male. We need to ensure that policies around gender, geography, and ability to be promoted through special schemes, scholarship needs, everything, and etc. Yeah, and collect gender disaggregated data, as I've earlier mentioned. There's quite a bit that could be unpacked. I mean, this is could require an entire day of unpacking, because we had lots of recommendations and lots of learning, but probably that's all that I could go through. Again, I might sound like a broken record, because it's not like it's nothing you've not heard. It's just, what have we done about it? Otherwise, we keep singing the same songs, after 3 months, there'll be a similar event. But it would be really, really interesting if whoever moves from this room today goes back, they're able to come back 3 months down the road and say, well, I have a gender strategy in place. Now I see more women engaging in this and this way. Then the fruits of this workshop will have bared. Otherwise, we will keep singing the same song, and it's not going to work. So I wish you fruitful executions wherever you're going back to. And for the male startups, I'm hoping to see more innovations that include women within the design, within the entire value chain, and how they get to benefit at the end of the day. I also dream of a day where we have innovators that are innovating for belief systems around gender, because that's what mostly is still making women stay behind, belief systems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Diana. One thing that I took away from this presentation is that gender lens should be an everyday outfit. It's not something that you do today and tomorrow. By tomorrow, you don't remember what you did. But it's something that we need to continuously practice in our spheres of influence, whatever that may be, your hub, your innovation hub, or it's an organization, an office. These are things that we need to continue implementing. Now, very quickly, I'm going to invite Jacqueline from Sierra DB. Again, a shout out to our esteemed partners, the UNICEF, the UNDCF, and Sierra DB.
So, hi everyone. My name again is Jacqueline Jackson from CRDB, and my role there is a senior manager for digital and core innovation. So when I say core, is every other innovation that touches the existing business, and digital is the aspect of the transformation aspect and going through the adjacent. And my other role there is as a UX strategist, creating vision for our user experience on our digital products like SIM banking, the new Wakala app, and other channels. As well as I do product management for all the digital and mobile banking products. So it's key for me to say this because I'm seeing the audience comprised of young startups, maybe there are fintechs inside here. So we are all welcome to work together to innovate the financial space. It's not, it's you. It's you, yes, I have. Amekutumia Edwin. It's opening. Okay. So when I was invited to speak to you guys, it was typical on the opportunities, the gender lens opportunities in financial institutions and how we can unlock those opportunities for the empowerment economically to women. Women are a powerful force in the global economy with significant untapped business potentials. We all believe this, and we have statistics to support that statement. First of all, 80% of householding decisions are made by women. We agree to that, even if the provider, the financial provider is the man. But you'll find, even if the house was funded by a man, but it's the woman who has chosen the decor design, even the design, the architecture design of the house. But outside, it will be visible as it was the decision of a man, but there's a greater role played by the women towards that decision of what you'll see outside. Again, 73% of women today, like Diana was saying, they claim that we are not meeting their financial needs, and simply because most of the financial service providers started from a bank point of view, and most of the banks started earlier ago when even the awareness about gender equality was not there. So we are improving the way we are innovating our products, and 68% of women businesses, emerging economies have unmet credit needs, like what just Diana said. Most of the women businesses are not structured, while for you to get credit or loans, you need to have a structured business. You need to have collateral as security, like you need to have a house, a land, which those are assets most of the women don't own that. And on the world perspective is that for 34% of the world's businesses are owned or operated by women. Now, the stats down are a look on our country, where 80% of women are in the agriculture sector force in Tanzania. So it shows like agriculture being the backbone of our economy, but it's hugely supported by women. But if you look forward, you'll still see they are still struggling with access to finances. Those are 57% of the women. And even on the employment population, we are still not that many. For instance, in where I come from, in my department, since it's a tech department, innovation and digital transformation, we only have 5 women, including me, 5, out of almost a team of 50 people. And the other one is 22% of women-owned enterprises have access to formal credit, only a very few percent. So from the stats and from our research that we've done as a bank, what we've learned that we can describe who are these women, like who are we, who are all the women in the room. First of all, women has unique relationship with time. If I refer to what Diana mentioned and even Dr. Flora, is that women, you need to find a work-life balance. If you're an entrepreneur or an employee, you still need to manage at work and at home. So whatever solution you need to offer women, it has to be time sensitive because they have a lot to do. And women are avid consumers of information and advice. So we always say, most of the men always say when they go to supermarket, they will say, you know, if you go with the women, they will do a window shopping across the whole mall just to pick a small lipstick, right? It's because we are sensitive to information. We need to research, analyze, to get the right product, maybe at the right price, comparing a lot of window shoppings, unlike the men. So in a bank perspective, when you're dealing with women, they're the people who can help you create the right product, at least for the whole mass. Again, women are risk takers. They take calculated risk. So most of the time, women try to balance the reward and the risk taking. As a result, most of the loans are being taken by men because men, they are ready to take the risk, but as a woman, I will start to think, what is the interest? How will I return this loan? But for men, it's access to money. Let me take it. I'll find out what I need to do later, but let me just have that money. And another thing, another insight that we've gathered is that in the financial space or in any industry, they think maybe creating the right product for women, you need to brand it as a pink color. There is where women will come for it, but you need to gather the actual needs of women and create the right product rather than relying on just the pink color. And lastly, women want to connect. They want, if they come to banks, they want to make relationships. Whether it's lending, whether it's account opening, whatever they do, it's about networking rather than just doing the things and living. So what we need to do is to address the women's problem, is to provide them access to service excellence in order to balance their timing of life, and then access to knowledge, in terms of financial literacy, skills for entrepreneurship, skills in employment, as well as access to market and access to finance, like Diana had mentioned. So at CRDB, we have, our strategy is built against gender lens investment. Like everything that we do, it cannot be neutral banking. It has to balance the big society of the women, because even the worldwide, most of us are women, most of the people are women, and even the life expectancies, women tend to live many more years compared to men. So if you take it, means you're building something that is sustainable. So our approach towards ensuring that the products that we build, the investments that we do are gender focused. First of all, we try to meet our customers where they are. You could see when the bank first started, it was, and the way the branch was organized is that as a normal customer, as a normal person, you felt like, for me to go to the branch, maybe I need to wear something, maybe I need to wear a suit. I cannot just go with slippers. I need to be somebody fancy for me to be allowed to enter a banking hall. But we've changed that and bring the services closer to the community, especially the bigger community, which is the women, by now introducing, you could see wakalas, you could see mobile bankings, you could see ATMs, so that it reaches women where they are and the entire community. Also, what we look is developing solutions that meet the pain points. Initially, when the bank started, everything was neutral. It's an account favored maybe for the working class, and the working class was the biggest, large portion was men. And we had to translate it to employ methodologies like design thinking, like human-centered design, so that we can have that gender sense in the products that we build. And I'll show you on the next slide what these products now look like. And lastly, the data that we've collected all those years, we try to zoom out the aspect of women. If it is about loans, we try to take what is the portion of loan, what is their behavior in repayment, what is their behavior in terms of accessing the banking services as opposed to men. So as CRDB, we have done a lot of products that is addressing the challenges that have been observed. Number one is that we have a strategy called Banking is in Banking, knowing that women are all over the country, and for us to reach them is to empower them with mobile phones, as well as ensuring all the services that they need are available on the phone, so that they are able to access the banking services wherever they are, apart from the normal Wakala network and the ATMs. And we've improved the access to credit to tailor based on the women behavior. So if you want a loan today with CRDB as a woman, you'll get a much lower interest, because we believe women have higher repayment rate and they are very loyal. Even at home, women are very loyal. They don't cheat, right? So we have a loan called Malkia loan, which is offered at 14% interest, unlike other loans which are offered at 20 to 22 interest. We also have an agri loan, knowing that 80% of women are on agribusiness. So we've lowered the interest to a single digit, which is 9% interest. And we also offer something called credit guarantee. So most of the loans require collateral security, but we know most of the women's business are very immature, they're very unstructured, they don't have collateral. So we offer a grant that will de-risk the loan that a woman is taking. So for instance, a woman can come and based on what they do, you could score them to at least 20 million. But this woman could be needing 50 million. Now the guarantee, the grant and the guarantee comes in place to boost the difference, and then these women can get the 50 million. And internally, we have a program for leadership programs for people like me and every other woman in there, so that we are empowered. It's like they are nurturing us to make us feel we can be more up there. Because at the bank today, if you look at the C-suite, the CFO, the chief commercial, the chief operating officer, they are all men, including the MD. There's no women there. You go down to the level of directors, there are 12 directors, only 1 woman. You go down to the level of heads, there are 48 heads, only 13 women. So it's like women at the top there is only 25%. So this program, the leadership programs, it's basically to empower these women. And we've gone through trainings like board competency, because we believe if we train women to understand how different boards of company operates, they might not have a position for leadership in the bank, but they can take a board seat somewhere on any other company, still work for us, but still practicing the leadership somewhere else. And then we also have another program called Graduate Trainee Program, where we take a number of graduate trainee programs. At the moment, we have 32. And then we train them, and then we employ them. And their level of employment won't start from a junior position. It's going to start at a manager position, so that we are able to ensure that any women inside the training program is automatically uplifted to a managerial position, because we've seen that at the bank, most of the women are on the junior level. So we believe if they continue to start on the junior level, chances of them going up is very limited. So we try to jump through them. We also have a diversity and inclusion program. So we are adjusting the ways of working to adapt the agile, which means more flexibility, more transparency, more teamwork, and more inclusion for everyone based on their talent and skills rather than their gender. And for this saying, I can say we are the first bank to have female developers in our team. So even if the number is just 2, but it is something. And we also have a nursing facility that is considering women who are on maternity. And after the maternity, we know 6 months is not enough. At least they can come with their kids, continuing with the maternity while still working. We also do have remote working for some of the roles that don't require physical presence. And on the other side, we have CSA programs. Number 1 is we're currently working with UDISM to build a pool of talent for software engineers, because last year when we were recruiting 19 developers, we want the number of female to be at least 60% and the number of males to be 40%. But towards the end of the year, we only got 2 female developers. So we said we need to partner with academics like UDISM and maybe scale the program to other universities so that we can create those female software engineers while at school and not wait for you to get them once you've posted a job because they don't apply. Maybe they feel they don't have the capacity. So we are building the capacity for those females inside the university so that when we post a job, they are ready to apply and we are ready to onboard. And on the same CSI program, we have something called Imbeju. So Imbeju is a word, anyone can guess? A word from which part of the country? Imbeju. Anyone from Bear? So Imbeju, you know, what is Imbeju? So Imbeju, as I learned, is seed. Is mbegu. Yeah? So we have a program that we are going to launch next month called Imbeju, and it was officially launched in Zanzibar during the ICT Summit conference, but we are going to officially start activities on that program next month. And the program is about empowering the entrepreneurship to innovators and startups. So we are going to call for applications and people will apply, and just like any other normal incubation, you will get funds, you will get all the skills and the support and the access to the market, because we believe what you're doing we could be having a customer base for that. What you're doing, we could be having funds to support that dream or that business. So that is the competitive mode part of the Imbeju. On the other side, we have non-competitive. Now, these are loans given to women, strictly women. The other part for the competitive, where it's for the youth and innovators, is for everyone at the younger age, from 18 years to 35. The non-competitive is just for the women only at any age. We are trying to support them, especially those women who cannot access funds, because they are not, I can say, fundable. If you come to the bank, you don't have collaterals, you don't have what it takes for you to get a loan. So we are going to give those women funds and capital to support their small business. The women I'm talking about here are like the mamantilie, people owning very small salons. So that's in a non-competitive. And we are not working together because one of our assets are the partnerships that we have. And on this, we said we are going to leverage the partnership with COSTECH and ICTC, because we know they are very good in nurturing entrepreneurship from seed all the way to scaling. So lastly, I would like to say, when Diana said, when she said what aspires a woman to be an entrepreneur, it was because somebody said it's my passion. Somebody else say I want to impact the community. But I would want to say it is okay in the current economy for women to earn money. So you can also do it for money. And lastly, I would want to welcome you on Uwekezaji Day. CRDB always have a celebration every year called Uwekezaji Day, where it was meant for investors who are our shareholders. But this time around, we are doing things differently, so it's going to be about a youth day. It's going to be about the day where we'll talk more about the Imbeju. Startups are welcomed. There are booths there. They are welcome to showcase their products. And there will be a lot of people and stakeholders from the ecosystem where you'll meet and you get to know more about the Imbeju. So you can stay tuned to the social media, to the radio, to the TV stations, because some awareness and some campaigns will start coming from next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Wow, there is so many opportunities for us women. I hope this has been very inspiring and encouraging. And like I think Miss Diana mentioned it, Jacqueline has also mentioned it. Sometimes we women, we're given the opportunities, but we are the last ones to get up and go and show up. So my encouragement to all of you ladies who are here is to seize these opportunities. I believe Jacqueline will be here, Miss Diana will be here. If you have any questions, you can go to her and just see how you can, you can get involved, you can partner up. But also for the men that are here, I'm glad that there's a good number of men here, which is something, one of the challenges is that sometimes you act as that topper on a bottle, that you don't allow the women to advance in their careers, you don't allow them to participate in whatever it is that they want to challenge themselves in. So my encouragement to you is that you will be the advocates for these gender-related issues, right? It's your mothers, it's your sisters, it's your wives, and at the end of the day, if your wife is making money, it's coming home, right? It's helping your children, it's helping your family, right? So for the men here, that's a challenge to you, that you be the advocates that you need to be in your families, in your societies. We're coming to the end of our workshop today. If you registered, when you came in, you registered yourself, you must have received a a text message or a WhatsApp message with a link. That is a link to an evaluation form. And I will kindly ask you to take a minute to fill that evaluation form quickly. And while we're doing that, you will be getting an incentive at the end upon completion of the form. So please take your time, take some time and fill that, that form. And again, shout out to UNDCF, CRDB, and UNICEF. With that, I would like to invite Dr. Gerald Kafuku, who will be giving us closing remarks. And afterwards, we will be having a cocktail, so don't leave just yet. We will be having some snacks and some tea, so stay behind. And I hope you complete filling that form. Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Gerald.
Thank you. Good evening. Am I ahead? Oh, okay. Okay, I thought maybe I just keep my voice low. Then okay, good evening again, and for those who are online, we thank you for being with us. My name is Gerard Kafuku. I would love to thank you for being here because I was not here in the morning. Our speakers, stakeholders, African EU partners, my fellow staff from COSTECH, participants, especially the beneficiaries. I've heard some good stories here, and I hope that this workshop, with the aim of focusing gender lens, has achieved what it was intended. Because I always ask myself, you're discussing on the landscape, on the way we deal with gender issues, and these kind of platforms really make us remind that we need to attain a certain gender balance. And we have many programs here at COSTECH that aim to support inclusion. I wonder if gender means only women. Some people say it's women, men, boys, and girls. Is it? Yeah, I'm an engineer. One time we were trying to see, can a girl work at the mining sector? But the solution is to look at the value chain of the innovation, from design, thinking, manufacturing, testing, production, supply chain, and to see where women can fit. You may not go to the underground mines, but you can sit in the office and design, is it? So to me, I find that it is us to decide that where can we place girls and the women, even boys, in the value chain of production. But here, we and African EU have been working together to support women. And I'm told that there have been a lot of suggestions from this workshop. And we are embarking on our next annual budget, both the project and the other side of the government, through our partners. We believe, and I believe that I will receive these recommendations and be included in our projects. That one for Buni, I think you can do that. So I'm expecting that after a week or two, I will receive some activities to be included in our annual budget or in our annual plans, because it is not worth it to call people here and stay all these 4 or 5 hours for nothing. From CRDB, I thank you very much. We are going to sign an MOU next week with Imbeju, and we did finalize the draft yesterday. So COSTECH will be the one that will be processing the applications of innovations. So perhaps you're going to be part of the beneficiaries. But also, we are trying to come up with programs that will only support ladies and women. We have the DIVA program that we set aside every year fund because we believe that women have got some other tasks to do at home. So we give them a kind of a token. They compete on their own. There are funds which everybody competes, and there are funds which are only competed by women. And that challenge of funding and capital mitaji, we were always crying, but we are finalizing our first cost-take is credit policy. That innovators with good ideas, proven ideas, not raw ideas, proven ideas which are meant to go to market tomorrow via a company or whatever, they'll be receiving special fund for revolving. We remove those hurdles like collaterals and something like that. That one we are sure. Next year it will start. So you have a lot of windows nowadays to seek for fund. So we are still calling for many partners to join our forces because these funds we are bringing in are not that much and you are too many. But we're also urging you to come up with the ideas which have got national impact. I think we all read our national vision. I think you know our national vision. Our vision is to be independent, is it? Technologically. That's the only vision we have in technology. To be independent technologically. So that one day we see you are producing goods that we consume on our own in our own country. Reducing importation, is it? Reducing dependence on foreign experts. That's how we build universities. We coach you, we mentor you, believing that one day you'll be able to produce and export. So it has been a long day to you, even me. I've been in many meetings since morning. I'm so tired. But like I said, that the deliberations from this meeting, we at our department, we have the way we do things. We say we don't want to waste people's time. So every time we meet, we include those deliberations into our plans. So Buni and the team, I would like to congratulate you and to thank the partners from African EU that these things you're talking about here are going to be included in our programs of the future. I don't want to take much of your time because it's just evening and we need to catch up with the traffic jam. I thank you very much for welcoming me to giving a closing remarks. I hope that you'll be part of our team. You'll be part of our ecosystem. And you want to go away just forever. I think most of you are Buni members, eh? And please invite more because we are going to have more support from the government and from partners in these coming days. And once again, I thank CRDB for agreeing to give us the chance to be the partner in the Imbeju. And we are welcoming more banks. This evening I was told about NMB and other banks talking about the same. So the more we work together, the more we get more funding, and the more we convince other partners, the government, that all sector from private sector and public sector care about innovation, especially when it comes to gender inclusion. I thank you very much. Let me take this back to the MC. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Kafuku. And with that, we've come to the end of this workshop. There's a few of you that were appointed earlier. If we can meet here just for an interview, we'd just like to get to know what you have received and how you're gonna use the knowledge that you've gained today to apply. But otherwise, we're still gonna be here. We'll, I believe, promise the food is ready, right? Okay, yes. Yeah, so while she's checking that out, thank you very much once again for being part of this very informative platform, and we're hoping that you will be great advocates for gender-related issues. Thank you. I, let me just cross-check. Yes, we're ready. So some of you can go and start serving. Thank you. Okay. All right, Dr. Nuru, so can you tell us a little bit about this workshop today, how it has impacted you personally, or how it's going to affect your area of work?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. First and foremost, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I'm here and I attended this event. Really, it is eye-opening. And as for me, from academia, really, I didn't even know if there's a STI policy from 1996. And also, I'm really intrigued why this has not been into light, and even for us in academia, knowing it at this stage, while it was supposed to be even mainstreamed in our programs. Yes, I'm a lecturer there at the Institute of Social Work. Yes, we really need this to be out there. So I'm glad that I get this opportunity to even know the issue about STI. Yeah.
I completely agree. Thank you very much for your time, and hope to see you in the next workshop, and hope to hear the good things that you've begun to do in your organization.
Thank you very much. So also the one thing that I wanted to add to get it out there, this issue about STI and STEMs, and STEM, we really need to get the difference out there. What does the STI mean, and how does it differ with the STEMs? Especially from us from social work, we say that STEMs maybe is for others who are doing mathematics, engineering, and so forth. But for the STI, even the eyes, innovation is for both. It doesn't have to include the mathematics, the technology, because when you see even us, women, many of us, when we hear mathematics, engineering, we're like, no, we shy away. So maybe we really need to get this STI out there and differentiate it from STEM. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yani anza